¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo están todos? Una grata sorpresa. Estamos con Corey Taylor de Slipknot, Stone Sour y una carrera solista que va a comenzar este año con dos singles que escuchamos, uno de los frontmans más importantes del rock de los últimos años, y tenemos el placer de conversar con Corey Taylor nuevamente. Corey, thank you for your time. Welcome to Radio Sonar again. How's it going?
Oh, it's good to be back, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, Corey, this year has been kind of bizarre with the terrible explosion in Lebanon and the global pandemic. It seems like we started to live in the apocalypse that the Slipknot's aesthetic predicting, because everyone is wearing masks nowadays.
Well, most people are, not everybody, which you kind of wish they would, but I mean, it is what it is, right?
And how is everyday life in this pandemic? You're in Vegas, right?
I am in Vegas, yeah. Here it's not as bad it is in a lot of places in America, but it's just it's up and down, kind of depends on what's going on. We've luckily not been really touched personally by anything like that, but there have been a handful of people who we've known that have been, have come down with it and luckily gotten through it. So it's a strange time, man.
Hablamos con Corey Taylor respecto a cómo ha cambiado el estar en Las Vegas. Es, al igual que todos, un vaivén emocional importante. Y las buenas noticias, que es, a propósito de todo esto que está ocurriendo, las cancelaciones, ya no se puede hacer música en vivo, un nuevo disco solista. Hablando de nuevas experiencias, hay un nuevo disco solista, Corey, y escuchamos un par de singles y sentimos nosotros, al menos en la primera revisada, que finalmente te estás divirtiendo después de mucho tiempo. So, talking about the new experience, there's a new album coming out in October, and after hearing the singles and watching the video, it looks like you're having fun again after many years of stress. Do you see it that way?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for me, this album is kind of getting back to my roots, basically, getting back to, a lot of the reasons why I wanted to make music in the first place, getting back to the types of music that I was writing to begin with, really kind of, it's a touchstone that I've wanted to get back to for a while, and I kind of tried doing that with either band, and I realized that I wasn't going to get it until I really kind of did my own thing. And, once I kind of made that decision, it really just kind of popped back into place, man. And all of these songs are songs that I've written for years that didn't work with either band and have just kind of been sitting and waiting for this opportunity. So it just felt perfect, and it had the right chemistry, the right vibe, and the rest is history.
Y sentías la necesidad de escribir en una forma más optimista, comparándolo como lo que realizabas en Sleep, en el último disco fue súper estresante. Did you feel the necessity, Corey, to write in a more optimistic way?
No, not the necessity. I think it just naturally happens, especially with some of the stuff that I've written. There's just an upbeat vibe to it, just and maybe it's because I've spent so much time singing dramatically with both bands, maybe naturally the stuff that really didn't make either band just had that kind of light vibe to it. But for me, like, some of my favorite songs are the ones that just kind of feel big like that, whether it's stuff like Slade or Motley Crue or, all of these great bands that I grew up listening to, it's a matter of putting the right sing-along stuff together, and really wanting to kind of do something that filled in a certain piece of the musical puzzle that I think might have been missing for me.
As you said, bueno, como dijiste, hay muchas influencias en este disco. Este disco fue grabado 100% en vivo y al menos nosotros lo sentimos con un sentido de libertad que tú señalabas, lo que decía Corey de las múltiples influencias del glam, Motley Crue y varios más. Hay muchos cameos en el video, en uno de los singles destacados de este álbum de Corey Taylor que va a salir en octubre, y para nosotros parece una rebelión respecto a la escena actual un poco más plástica del rock moderno. This album was recorded 100% live, Corey, and there is a sense of freedom, as you said, and classic rock in the video with tons of cameos, big hooks, big rock hooks, and it seems like a rebellion with the current rock scene. Don't you think the overproduced rock scene that leads the charts nowadays?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, it was definitely, to me, kind of lifeless. And it's obviously, it's like, you know, I don't want to cut anybody down. And I don't want to talk negatively anymore. I'm really trying to get away from that. But at the same time, you know, this is really a response to that. You know, it's just so much music now just sounds too overprocessed and too compressed, and just, it doesn't seem real. It seems like just layers of music that don't coalesce and don't feel like anyone really played it, you know? For me, that's the best part of this music, is that you can hear us playing it in the room together. You can feel that rush of the sound through an amp pushing air and getting to someone's ears and getting to the speakers, and you can feel that there's a life to it. And that's, I think, probably what I'm most proud of.
Do you think that the current mainstream rock scene in general has lost that sense of fun? ¿Tú crees que el rock ha perdido ese sentido de diversión, las nuevas bandas?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, everybody is they're so concerned with being so serious all the time. And it's just like, listen, if you're serious all the time, what the hell do you do for fun? You know, like, I don't get it, you know? And look, I'm just as bad, you know, I'm just as guilty as everybody else. But then again, that's one of the reasons why I've done this, you know? It's like, there has to be two sides of the coin. It can't just be one dimensional. I think that's why a lot of modern rock is so one dimensional, is because it only represents one sliver. And yet you have all of these bands pouring on and trying to do the same thing over and over and over again. There's no life. There's no pop to it, man.
Compared to the current rock scene, hablando de influencias y comparándolo con los nuevos referentes, este disco solista, al menos de los dos avances y lo que hemos escuchado, mezcla varias ideas de Corey, del pasado, incluso en la época cuando estaba en la secundaria, cuando era más adolescente. Incluso hay un toque medio de Clash que me sorprendió en una de las canciones. This solo experience allowed you to merge past ideas, Corey, and influence like the Clash with your present. That for me is awesome. That is something worth exploring, right? Tell us about that.
Absolutely. You know, I think if more people looked back and really kind of looked at a lot of the stuff they grew up listening to, a lot of the stuff that their favorite artists grew up listening to, really paid attention to the history of our music, the rich history, maybe they would find some touchstones there, you know, instead of just rehashing and regurgitating the same things, you know. I think that's one of the reasons why this album is so much fun, is it's a celebration of not only music, but my musical history. It's a celebration of the stuff that made me, basically. And, you know, you talk about the Clash, you know.
Yeah.
I think if more people really went back and paid attention to their entire catalog, instead of just ripping off one Clash song and just doing it over and over and over again, they would realize that there's so much breadth. There's so much room to be able to experiment and expand and explore and really do something exciting. But, you know, people's attention are about this big these days.
Yeah. Tú fuiste parte, Corey, hablando de las influencias clásicas, pero como referente actual, eres parte todavía de la generación llamada New Metal, con grandes nombres, Deftones, System of a Down, Korn y un largo, etcétera. ¿Crees que la explosión del New Metal o el New Metal como movimiento, como corriente musical, fue el último gran movimiento, la última gran movida del rock? Corey, you are still are part of the New Metal movement, the New Metal generation, with big names as Deftones, System of a Down, Korn, and others. Do you think that the New Metal explosion was the last big rock movement?
That's a good question. I think rock-wise, probably. But then again, there's this folk rock that doesn't really feel like rock, you know. It's the stuff that's come out in like the last 10 years. It really just kind of feels like synthesizers and clean guitar and accordions and all that crap. And it's just, it doesn't have the same attitude that maybe we had, you know. But, you know, at the same time, I mean, maybe that's what we, you know, my generation, we were a reaction to the kind of soft music that was coming out in the mid 90s to begin with. Like there was nothing that really had the same urgency, the same attitude, the same anger that we all were sitting on, you know? And maybe that's what's going to happen in the wake of this newer, soft, safe rock that's happening lately, is that there will come a time when the rage kind of comes out again. We're already kind of seeing it with bands like Code Orange, band called Horror. There's so many great bands that are kind of really being elevated from the hardcore scene, the underground scene. It's you know, you look at a band like Knocked Loose, where I discovered them about 4 years ago, maybe, and they're one of my favorite bands, and they are just shredding, and yet they were one of the most passionate, heavy acts that I've heard in a while. So I think because of that reaction, people are really looking for that next kind of elevation to that next level, you know?
Yeah. Code Orange is incredible. They put very interested tunes on the table, like industrial stuff. They are from the modern wave of hardcore bands. I see them live, and it's incredible. Yeah.
They're insane. Yeah. We toured with them.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, I love touring with bands that I love, because it gets me so excited about my show, you know, like it gets me amped up for my show, man, where you know that you're going to have to step it up, especially with a band like Code Orange, because they're so good live.
Corey, let's talk about Slipknot and the near future. Several versions of Knotfest were canceled, unfortunately, for the pandemic, of course. And what can you tell us about the rumors about Knotfest happening here in South America at the end of next year? ¿Qué nos puedes decir acerca de los rumores de una edición del Knotfest en Sudamérica?
I mean, that's the plan, you know. I mean, that's what we're looking at. We've kind of shifted everything from this year to next year in the hopes that everything really kind of evens out. You know, our plan right now is to really fire back up next year. I don't know when, but, you know, really it comes down to making sure that our fans are safe and the environment is right for a show, you know? I mean, we've always put our fans' safety first above everything else, you know, whether it's Mexico City with the barricade breaking, or in this case, a pandemic where the contagion can fire up just like that. And you cannot really, you know, keep it contained. So it's difficult, because all we want to do is play. All we want to do is play for our fans, you know? But we're also in the mindset that we're not going to do anything that's going to put anybody at risk. So it's just a matter of time before things really kind of even out, you know, and we have faith. So we'll just have to see.
So good news. Finally, Knotfest is happening here, I don't know, in Brazil, Chile. Which countries will you include? Would you like to include?
I mean, it all comes down to, because if we had our way, we'd put it in every country, you know? It all comes down to doing it respectfully and doing it in a way where we don't upset or offend the promoters and the people who we've worked with in the past. You know, I mean, you bring up Brazil.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even make sense for me to consider doing that if we didn't talk to the people who have had us be a part of Rock in Rio for so many years. You know, to me, it's really about the respect level and working with those promoters and trying to make something that, you know, keeps Knotfest alive, but also is something that, you know, pays respect to the people who helped us get here in the first place.
So potentially, maybe Knotfest it's going to happen in Brazil, Chile, Argentina.
I mean, we would love that. You know, we don't have we don't have definite plans yet. Okay. But I can tell you that we're constantly looking to expand, constantly looking to I mean, Knotfest Colombia was so much fun, and
Yeah.
obviously Knotfest Mexico City has been massive for us. And you know, Latin and South America are both huge markets for us,
Yeah.
and the fans are so crazy that I mean, it just would go without saying that if we can do Knotfest in several different countries, we're definitely going to try to.
Ya lo decía Corey Taylor, obviamente con todo el respeto, porque la seguridad de los fans es lo más importante. Va a haber una versión cuando todo se normalice, cuando se pueda volver a girar. Va a haber una edición del Knotfest, una serie de presentaciones del Knotfest en Sudamérica, pensando en los mercados que ya han tenido una conexión con ellos. Debutaron en Chile el 2005, Chile, Brasil, ojalá Argentina. Vamos a ver qué ocurre con otros factores, hay factores económicos y de logística, pero está el ímpetu de la banda. Corey, as you said, and as we know too, es súper temprano, o sea, es todavía muy pronto para hablar de esto, pero jugando con los condicionales, con las probabilidades. I know it's soon and the world is changing every day, but if you had to choose 3 bands, just 3 bands, to include in this South American Knotfest, which will be?
Oh man,
A tough one.
I mean, there's so many good bands,
Yeah.
man. You know, I mean, that's a good question. I would love to do something with Korn again.
Okay.
They're a great band to tour with, and some of our good friends. Code Orange obviously would be sick.
Wow, incredible.
And the band that I brought up earlier, Horror, I think people would really, because there's such a great mixture of dark hip hop, hardcore punk, and goth and electronic. Like, they're just so creative and so good that I think people would really shit when they saw them. Like, it's really, really good.
So Korn, Horror, and Code Orange. Incredible lineup.
Yeah, it'd be really, really cool.
Well, Corey, we are almost on time. Last question. There are, as you know, there are no tours this year. How do you planning to promote these tunes besides streaming services, of course? Have you thought about doing something similar like Metallica did, exhibit some music through drive-in cinemas, for example?
I mean, that's kind of the plan right now. We're planning to do something virtually in the next month or two, actually. Looking to do something really, really cool to kind of, you know, get this out there and show it from a live standpoint. So that, yeah, I mean, we're going to do everything we can up into, but not, you know, going against regulations and whatnot. We're going to do everything smart, but definitely starting with doing things like live streaming and whatnot. When the time comes and if they allow us to do some of these social distancing shows, we'll definitely try to do something like that. But for right now, yeah, I mean, it's a matter of trying to find what we can do responsibly and what we can do legally.
Okay, Corey, thanks for your time. Esto fue Corey Taylor. Thanks for doing this. Corey Taylor, recuerden, 2 de octubre, el disco solista, uno de los frontmans más importantes del rock en los últimos 20 años. Y lo que no es menor, cuando todo esto pase, vamos a tener una edición del Knotfest, queridos. En el Knotfest en Sudamérica, ojalá Brasil, ojalá Chile. Y en los sueños de Corey sería Code Orange, Horror, que es una tremenda banda electrónica industrial con una actitud rockera. Y, por supuesto, Code Orange, Korn y Horror serían junto a Slipknot el sueño, el line-up soñado de un Knotfest que tarde o temprano va a ser realidad. Terrific, brother. Thank you for your time.
Very welcome, man.
Can't wait for this version of Knotfest. Thank you. Take care.
It would be rad. You too, man. Take it easy.
You.
Yeah.